You're listening to Montreal Now with Aaron Rand and Natasha Hall on CJAD 800.
And that is James Mennie, and he joins us now. Okay, Jim, so we've been talking, well, I just spoke to Graham Carr, the Vice Chancellor of Concordia. It sounds like this meeting of the English universities with Premier François Legault and Minister Pascal Derry went pretty well. Is that what you're talking about here when you say he gets sent to the principal's office?
Well, sent to the principal's office, I think it was very interesting that once the meeting was over, and perhaps knowing that the Premier wasn't going to say anything, they put out a rather lengthy statement about what they had offered to do, which is essentially, make French courses mandatory. In fact, what they did today, my take on it anyway, is that they have put François Legault into something of a corner because they're saying, they're not quite saying out loud, but they are saying in black and white, your idea, this argument that coming after us is going to improve funding for French language universities is absolute rubbish. The other thing is, if you are indeed concerned about preserving French and making sure that it stays healthy, and you bat away the offer that we're making, then, quite frankly, you're revealing yourself to be the thin-skinned Anglophobe that you have always been. I found it interesting as well. I don't know if you had a chance to read the statement that they put out.
I haven't, no. I saw some bullet points.
An interesting paragraph in there concerning, the consequences of this move, of this full frontal, unprovoked, unnecessary attack on English language universities. And it says, and I'm quoting, by becoming the only province that refuses to fund students from other Canadian provinces, Quebec could also expose itself to retaliatory measures that would jeopardize the ability of Quebec students to study elsewhere in Canada. That's pretty flatly worded. And I think that particular message is addressed not necessarily to François Legault, but perhaps to members of his caucus, perhaps to people, who were thinking of sending their kids outside of Quebec to complete their studies in Canada, which remains to be, it's a pretty good deal in Canada to get a university education. And people who might be, those same people might be the ones who might want to donate to the Coalition Avenir Québec. So quite frankly, François Legault has a choice. Will he back off? Will he turn around and say, listen, you give me a face-saving element here. You're going to have these courses. This is good. You're holding up your end. We'll monitor you carefully. But, just to save face, because he is the guardian, the self-appointed guardian of the French language in Quebec. And we will be monitoring you carefully, but we think this is enough, and that's it. And then François Legault will cower for a bit and hope the whole thing goes away, because right now he needs this additional self-created problem like he needs a hole in the head. But the fact is, who knows with François Legault? I'm sure he's done all kinds of internal polling as well to see how much damage this would do. But in the end, as I say, this was yet another solution to a problem that was created by François Legault. Not the CAC, François Legault. There is no CAC, okay? And this is such an issue, Natasha. This is such an important issue for the French language that the minister responsible for the French language, was he at this meeting? No, he was in Halifax representing the Quebec government at a meeting of the premiers.
I noticed
that. Who was with François Legault? Pascal Derry, the Minister of Higher Education, who quite frankly keeps repeating the same demonstrably ridiculous claims about financing for French language universities will be redressed by this, as I say, full-out attack on English language universities. So I think Legault, with all the other things that are facing him this week alone, and will be facing him down the road, and I'm not just talking about labor relations here, it's going to be a busy winter for François Legault. Does he really need this millstone that he created around his neck? I would say no, but then again, François Legault just listens to François Legault, and more specifically to François Legault's ego. So does he feel that he can get away with this and not look like he caved? One would hope so for the benefit of the universities and the students attending it. But let's face it, if there's one thing that is abundantly clear, the last thing that is on Francois Legault's mind, is on the mind of his government, is the general welfare of Quebec. Mm-hmm. Francois Legault and his people work for their constituents, the vast majority of whom I would dare say have zero interest in the future of English language universities
Agreed.
in Quebec. So it's going to be sad if it falls down. But frankly, I like to think cooler and perhaps more pragmatic heads will prevail.
You know how you always say that these plans are written on the back of a cocktail napkin?
Yeah.
I'm literally imagining him going out for like a booster juice from his office in front of McGill University and hearing students order, at a takeout counter in English and being just enraged by it. And that's where this all was born from. Like, this is our government? This is how we govern now?
Yeah. I'm sorry, but it is. And it's hardly new. I mean, the idea, we had now Bloc Québécois members of parliament who used to lead guided tours to show examples of English in Montreal, point at them and scream. I mean, it would be theater of the absurd if it wasn't so detrimental to Quebec's future.
Yeah.
And the idea that, you have to buy into this BS, or else you're a francophobe or you're Quebec bashing. I think that's getting a bit shock worn as well. It's so threadbare now that the holes are showing through. And I find it interesting that rather than seeing this groundswell of support for Francois Legault's crusade against English language universities, you're either hearing crickets or people are turning around. Indeed, people who are running French language universities who are saying this is such a terrible idea. And as the universities pointed out in their letter today, no one's going to benefit from it. And indeed, it could lead to retaliation elsewhere in the country. So really, if Francois Legault was trying to create a problem where none existed and a problem that he wants to make sure can't be solved, then my hat's off to him. Congratulations, you've won the prize. But if he's smart, and I think you can't say that he's stupid.
No.
If he's smart, though, he'll understand that by getting rid of this problem, first of all, his constituents won't really, go after him for it. I think right now his cheerleaders over at Québécois are still in shock from the 12 torpedoes that got rammed through their newsroom this week to sort of hop up and down. And indeed, they seem to be doing more cheerleading for the government side right now when it comes to the public sector strike. But I think if he's smart, he'll, give it a decent interval. Probably, it wouldn't surprise me, Natasha, even after I'm on at 4:00 on Friday of this week, that after that hit, maybe at 5 o'clock, there'll be an announcement from the government saying, we've rethought it, blah, blah, blah.
We'll just whisper it really quietly in the woods somewhere. Just before we run out of time here, because, I wanted to ask you about Jean-François Roberge sitting in, but just quickly on that, did you see he happened to leave that meeting? It was weird on the carbon tax meeting with the other premiers. He got up and walked out. Did you hear anything about that?
No,
okay,
I didn't hear anything about that.
Maybe
he got a text from Legault saying, keep your mouth shut. I have no idea.
Who knows?
But
I want to squeeze this in, though, before we run out of time. Well, we're already out of time, but just the back-to-work legislation. Do you think that is about to happen?
It's a certainty, and I think it'll happen before the end of the month.
Really? Okay.
Well, unless there's a deal, unless the government gives way. This is how this government operates. We pretend that we'll hear you out. And if you don't do what we want, we're going to hit you with a sledgehammer. Yep. And yes, it will cost them popularity. But right now, I think they know they're already in a slide. So they figure, plus we're coming up on the holidays. People the biggest thing politicians of any stripe in this country or elsewhere have going for them is that people have the memory of goldfish. Okay? So there you go.
Thanks, Jim. Always a pleasure. Talk to you tomorrow.
Bye,